minutes. Thanks for joining us. Let's wait for Mr. Zernick and Mr. Hoffland to join back with. They're here. They just stopped sharing video. There we are. All right, Mr. Tody, I already went on the record and called the case, and Mr. Zernich and Mr. Hoffland made their appearances. Let me tell you the clients that are here with them. With Mr. Hoffland, his client is there in the office, and so is the proposed protected minor. For Mr. Zernich, sitting next to him is Kaylee, natural mother. And in another room in Mr. Zernich's office is Mark Grimaldi, her natural father, and his wife, Sue. And then you see your client, Belinda Hollenbaugh, joining us as well. So, Mr. Tody, your appearance for the record?
You're under Frank Tody, Barnum 5804 on behalf of maternal grandmother.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Hoffland, if there's no objections, I anticipate asking that the proposed protected minor go into another room so that he doesn't hear the proceedings, but I'll note his appearance for the record. Do you have any objection, or does anyone have any objection to that? Mr. Zernich, I think you said no, but I believe you're muted.
No objection. I was missing the button.
That's all right. Mr. Tony, is that all right with you?
No objection, Judge.
Thank you so much. Counsel, let's deal with some, we'll give Mr. Hoffland a moment to get him in the other room, and then we'll deal with some procedural issues, housekeeping, and we'll get moving. Mr. Hoffland, I appreciate that. Counsel, I'd like to deal with some procedural issues first. I notice that Mr. Hoffland has provided a list of proposed exhibits, so has Ms. And forgive me, I'm going to use the names Kaylee and Belinda since they have the same last name. I think it's going to be help us a little bit, so I apologize for the informality, but I think it will help us navigate everyone a little bit better, so I'd ask counsel to use that as well. I know that Kaylee's filed some proposed exhibits with the court as well. So let's start first with any stipulations, and then if we'll get those stipulated proposed exhibits into evidence, and then we'll move from there. As to Mr. Hoffland's list of proposed exhibits, Mr. Zernich, is there any that you can stipulate to? Mr. Zernich, I can't hear you.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor, for reminding me that. We would stipulate to all the ones that I did not file an objection to. I filed an objection to the authenticity of roughly, I think, 4 of the exhibits. I know that we stipulated to number 1 and number 2 of their exhibits. I'm sorry, I have to go. I misplaced my objection. We stipulated to Brad. You might have our objection. I was just looking to see where.
I recall off the top of my head, I think it was 6, 8, and 9 that you objected to.
4, 5.
Oh,
I think
4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, it's 4, 5, 6, and 9.
Right there we go. I knew it was 4 and 5. 4, 5, 6, and 9 is the ones that I filed an objection to, Your Honor.
So it looks like 7 and 8 could be, you would stipulate, and 1, 2, and 3. Is that correct?
3, 7, 8. Yes, and I think, okay, yes, I thought there was a 10, but you are right about that, Your Honor. 1, 2, and 3.
All right,
7,
Mr. Tody.
Yes, I had the same objections, so they're the same.
All right, so you would stipulate to the admission of Mr. Hoffland's proposed 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Pursuant to stipulation, Mr. Hoffland's 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8 will be admitted. Let's move to Kaylee's proposed exhibits. Mr. Hoffland, I know you did file an objection, but are there any that you would stipulate to the admission of?
You know what? These just came in kind of late, and I'm looking at them. I don't. I think for the ease of the trial, I mean, she's going to talk about each one of these exhibits. I don't have a problem with any of these.
All right, so you would stipulate, Mr. Hoffland, to the admission of all of those?
Yes.
Mr. Tody?
No objections, Judge.
All right, so Haley's proposed A through J will be admitted pursuant to stipulation. Also, let me get here to Linda's. There's proposed 1 through 10. Mr. Zernich, do you have any objections to proposed 1 through 10?
Of whose exhibits are we addressing now?
Belinda's.
I have no objection.
I do.
Mr. Hoffland.
I haven't received those, Your Honor.
Mr. Tody, I know that Belinda prepared these improper person. I think they were provided to my law clerk. Mr. Tody, would you like to move forward with these proposed exhibits, or do you have something else?
Your Honor, these were the only things I had. They were filed, but it looks like they were actually filed on January 18th.
You're correct. Now that I'm looking at that, you're right. And so there's a couple of things that we do need to do, at least to these. Since they were publicly filed, I need to strike from the public filing Jaden's birth certificate, the toxicology report, and also number 5, it looks like the newborn discharge summary. Counsel, those appear to be confidential documents that would contain confidential information. I would hate for those to fall into the wrong hands. So just a matter of procedure, I'd like to strike those from the public record today. That's not a comment on whether or not they're appropriate for evidence, Mr. Tody, you understand. But Mr. Hoffland, do you have any objection to any of those proposed exhibits?
I was going to go look online. My staff didn't provide these to me. I wasn't aware that these were filed in the case, so I don't have those. If somebody could just quickly email those over to me, I could take a quick look at them. I don't care if you have
Tody, Mr. Zernich, could you email or Mr. Tody, could your office email that document over to Mr. Hoffland? Mr. Hoffland, go ahead.
I would like the exhibits filed by Belinda Hollenbaugh as well.
Oh, okay, so I'm going to ask Mr. Tody to send them
I'm
all
on
over to you.
I'm on it, Judge. Of course, I don't have these because I didn't do them, but I'm going to pull them off the website and get them over to both of them right now.
Okay, so as we do that, counsel, some of them, one of is Jaden's birth certificate. Counsel, I don't, and a bunch of pictures. Pictures are 6 through 10. And I'm just looking at the descriptor. I'm not looking at the actual document, so it's not a dispositive, accurate description. One of them is the urine toxicology report from Kaylee when she gave birth. And 3 are letters. The first 3 are letters. So you may have some concerns with those. I don't know how much the birth certificate might be an issue for you. We'll give you a couple of minutes to get those. Counsel, as we give Mr. Tody some time to email those over to both of you, I am inclined to make the CDPS records the court's Exhibit A. Counsel, does anybody have an objection to that?
No objection. This is Brad Hoffland.
Gary Zernich, no objection. No objection.
All right. In addition, I'm inclined to take the record from the J case, that register of action and the pleadings, and take judicial notice of those things that were ongoing in both the J case and also the D case, that custody case that was recently filed. Does anybody have any objections to that?
No objection, Judge. This is Brad Hoffland.
Gary Zernich, no objection.
And no objection, Judge. And Judge, I apologize. Gary, what's the best email for you? I've got this e-file at LV Family Law. Is that the best one for you?
I would get that, but the better one, if coming directly to me, is Gary at lvfamilylaw.com.
Okay.
counsel, while Mr. Tody sends that email, is there anything else procedurally or a housekeeping issue that you'd like me to resolve at the outset of this morning?
Your Honor, this is Brad Hoffland. There was 2 consents which were filed in the case by Bonnie Klingsdales and along with Rex Klingsdales, which are part of the record.
Yes, counsel. I see the one from Bonnie filed on December 7th, 2020. And did you just want me to note those for the record?
Yes, the consent and waivers, which are both of them were filed.
And then the one from Rex was filed with the court November 4th, 2020. Certainly.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Hoffland?
Nothing else, Judge. Well, taking a notice of, there's the temporary order which was put in place, which I imagine the court would take notice of that.
Yes.
Judge, I wanted to inform the court that I received the email sent by Mr. Tody. I've sent it to my printer. It's 22 pages, so it should be quick.
All right. I'm going to stop talking for a minute then and let Mr. Hoffland and Mr. Zernich take a look at those. You two let me know when you are ready to tell me whether or not you have an objection to any of those proposed exhibits. Mr. Tody, what do you watch on that big TV behind you?
Your Honor, it's actually, this will be the one time of the year that it'll come in handy. I always use it for March Madness.
I've reviewed the exhibits and can make my record when the court is ready.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Zernich.
We would just object to hit the exhibits number 1, 2, and 3. They appear to be well. I'll just lodge objections to 1, 2, and 3, and no objections to numbers 4 through 10.
Right, Mr. Hoffland.
Every time I push a different click on here, it erases what I was just looking at.
Well, I'm glad that I'm not the only one having technical difficulties. I appreciate that it's everyone experiencing, so I'll give you a couple more minutes.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I guess there's an exhibit number. I concur with Mr. Zernick as to exhibits 1, 2, and 3.
But you would stipulate to the admission of 4 through 10?
Well, yes, Judge, and there's a...
Which one are you concerned with, Mr. Hoffman?
It's on, I think it's Exhibit 8. It has a toxicology report, and it also has photos with it. I don't know if they were able to separate the photos from the toxicology report.
Oh. You want to call, Mr. Tody, is this okay? Can we call the toxicology report 8A and call those two pictures that are on the same page as the toxicology report 8B? Is that all right with you, Mr. Tody?
Yes, Judge.
It appears they're on the exact same page. Mr. Zernich, you got any problems with that? Any objections?
I have no problems with that. It's a good idea. Thank you, Judge.
All right, so Mr. Hoffland, that being said, would you have any objection to 8A, which is a picture of what is a toxicology report it looks like?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, and then the photos, you don't have any objection to those?
No objection.
All right, so those are all be admitted. All right, so we're off to a good start. Thank you, Counsel. I appreciate that. Counsel, is there anything else now that we've taken care of what exhibits we can stipulate to today that I need to deal with at the outset?
No, Judge. Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Mr. Zernich?
No, Judge.
Mr. Tody?
Judge.
All right, Mr. Tody, I see that your client filed a petition, but then didn't file service or get a citation issued. What's your position? What's your client's position today? And what's your client asking for, so that I understand?
Judge, the way I reviewed everything is it looks like my client is objecting to the petitioner, and she is seeking guardianship over the minor child herself.
All right. Thank you, Counsel. All right. Then what I'm inclined to do is allow Mr. Hoffland to present his case first. Mr. Hoffland, how many witnesses do you anticipate calling?
Just my client.
All right. And then I'll certainly allow Mr. Tody opportunity to question her and Mr. Zernich, and then we'll move from there. There are no clear rules when there are two petitioners who have the burden of proof, so counsel will give you some leeway in asking questions and making statements. But if you have an objection to any procedural issues as we go, please feel free to pipe up and let me know. Counsel, do you have any opening statements you'd like to make today, or would you rely on those pretrial memorandums? Mr. Hoffland?
Your Honor, just for the record, we object to Belinda making a request now because there weren't letters issued and that she didn't go through the proper process in which to have service to be an intervener in the case or seek relief from the court, just for the record.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make an opening statement today, Mr. Hoffland?
Your Honor, we waive.
Mr. Tody?
We waive, Judge.
Mr. Zernich?
Yes, I'd like to make a brief opening statement, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, my client is prepared to present today that she is a fit parent, and or put another way, with a parental preference, whether it's rebuttable and or not rebuttable. She is not an unfit parent. We think for the petitioners to prevail over her as the parent, that they're going to have to either prove that she is unfit and that there's some sort of extraordinary circumstances. In review of both the Litz case and the Laughlin versus Duca case, which are very similar from a certain standpoint, that there was periods of time of having limited contact, which was then ultimately found to be overcome as the case moved forward. We're here to present today that my client has overcome most of the issues that she had at the time that when this case started and when they closed the J case. I think that we certainly, there's this interplay between a custody case and this guardianship case, and how do they all intertwine? Although we know that the J case closed with custody orders, and we're going to present some testimony to show that Rex Klingsdale, there's certainly a substantial change in circumstances from that standpoint of the custody case when he's delegated guardianship to Ting Ho over and over and over the course of years. So therefore, that creates a substantial change in circumstances, and if the guardianship case is not is at this point is not necessary, then we believe that the case should proceed as a custody action, and we're here to show evidence that my client has a stable history as far as work goes. She has a stable history of living circumstances. There is no evidence that she's using illegal drugs, and she has a history, although that's a little up and down as far as visitation goes. The visitation has been entirely under the control of Ting Ho, and didn't always coordinate with her schedule, which is important too. So that's what we're prepared to present to the court today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, call your first witness.
I call Ting Ho.
Ms. Ho, please raise your right hand to be sworn.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank
Your
you.
Honor, I don't know if you guys, can you hear me okay? I can have her switch with me so you can hear her better and see her better. Would you like to do that?
That might be an excellent idea if you don't mind, Mr. Hoffman. You're kind of loud, Mr. Hoffman, and I am certain that you will be able.
Well, thank you.
You'll be able to project from the other side of the desk there. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you. Ting, when did you meet Jaden?
In September of 2016,
How did you meet Jaden?
I met Jaden the first time at a visit with Rex when he went to Child Haven to visit Jaden.
When you met Jaden, what, if anything, was your understanding about Jaden's living environment?
I knew that he was living on Boulder Highway in a fifth wheel due to a CPS case.
How were you aware of the CPS case?
I was aware of the CPS case because I met the CPS worker and I attended the hearings.
And when did you attend the hearings?
When? Pretty much from the beginning. I attended like all of them.
In the beginning of when? Is that when you in the September of 2016?
Approximately, yes.
All right. So you attended the hearings after September of 2016, until the case was closed.
Yes, until the case was closed.
So you didn't attend any hearings prior to 2016.
No, we did not. We were not aware of it at that time.
All right. After September of 2016, when was the next time that you saw Jaden?
October of 2016, we had a visit with him. Rex, Bonnie, and I took him to the pumpkin patch, and then after the pumpkin patch, we took him back to our home and showed him his room.
After October of 2016, when was the next time that you saw Jaden?
I believe it was November of 2016 when he got placed with us and we took him home to live with us.
Where has Jaden lived since November of 2016?
He's continuously lived with me.
Please describe your relationship with Jaden.
We have a very good relationship. He absolutely loves me and I absolutely love him. He is my family. He trusts me. He relies on me to take care of him. He knows that I protect him. I take him to his occupational therapies. He has a lot of friends, play dates. Basically, he really loves and trusts me.
Well, let's talk about his schooling. I mean, what grade is he in now?
He's in third.
And how is he doing?
He's doing really well. He has perfect attendance. He has straight A's. He does really well in school. He has a lot of friends.
And
he was also recommended for GATE, the Gifted and Talented program.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as proposed exhibit. Sorry, I'm doing this backwards. I would have been able to do it a little bit cleaner than this. I believe it's proposed exhibit 6, or if I'm correct. Is it?
That's his teacher.
proposed Exhibit 5. Can you take a look at these documents? Have you seen these documents?
Me? Yes.
And what are those documents?
The first document is a letter from his teacher.
And what's the date of that teacher? Or what's the date of that letter?
But it was last month.
How did you receive that letter?
She sent it to me.
And going to the next page, what is that?
It's an email from a different teacher, and that's the gate teacher.
And when did you receive that?
I received that September of 2020. Oh no, I'm sorry. This letter, the second letter, is an email from his teacher at the beginning of the school year, just emailing me, letting me know that he is doing so well and that she
I object to the testimony regarding the letter. I think we need to lay a foundation first, Your Honor.
Mr. Hoffman?
Sure, I'll continue to lay the foundation. You just can't say what it is.
Oh,
Listen,
sorry.
I mean, that's all I'm going to do is ask you about these letters.
Okay, sorry.
So, what is this?
It's just an email that the teacher wrote to me.
Okay. And so, what's the next document?
The next one is an email from a different instructor, and she's a gate specialist, and Jaden was
And when was the date of that letter?
February 17th
Of which year?
of this year.
And what is the next document?
And the next document is his report card, and that's his semester report card
For which semester?
for this previous semester that ended in January.
And when did you receive that document?
Oh, not that one, sorry. This one is, that one is his progress report. That one was November 6th, and yeah, we received it on November 6th. And that was a progress report.
Okay. And so what is the next document?
That just shows that he has perfect attendance, and he's doing distance learning online.
And when did you receive that document?
This one was November 6th as well.
Okay. So all these documents, are these the documents which what school is Jaden currently attending?
Cartwright Elementary?
So are all these documents which you received from Cartwright Elementary?
Yes, they are.
And are all these documents from Jaden's teachers or other people that work?
Yes, it is.
And this is all in regards to, which is normally received when Jaden goes to school?
Correct, yes.
You didn't ask these people to prepare these individually?
No.
This is all what you received the normal course of raising Jaden and through the school at Cartwright Elementary?
Yes.
Move for proposed exhibit number 5 to be admitted into evidence.
Mr. Zernich?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This was one of the exhibits that we have objected to. The first 3 pages of the exhibits, they're base number 300, 301, and 302, are letters and or emails from people. To enter the exhibit would be essentially taking testimony from them in the form of a witness that I have no ability to cross-examine, that I had no ability to examine ahead of time. We have no idea whether they're unavailable, so I would object to the admission of those 3 particular pages.
Mr.
Yes.
Zernich, as to 302, that's a little bit different than the first 2 letters. That's scheduling a time for the gate evaluation. Do you have, specifically as to 302, do you have an objection to that? That's setting a time for the evaluation.
No, Your Honor, I don't have an objection to 302, nor do I have an objection to the next ones that are part of the exhibit. It's missing 304, but for 305 and 306, I have no objection if they want to split this exhibit into 2 parts.
Okay, Mr. Tody, would you have a similar objection to 300 and 301?
The short answer is Mr. Zernick is technically correct. I'm not sure if these letters really add too much to the court, but for the same reason, without these people here to ask more about the letter, I would object.
Mr. Hoffland, in response to the limited objection 301.
Judge, you cut off. I'm sorry.
Oh, would you address Mr. Zernich and Mr. Tody's limited objection to 300 and 301?
They're just normal business records to and from the school. We're not offering for the truth of the matter asserted. We're just offering that it's received and she understood, and she's constantly communicating with the school.
Mr. Zernage?
I think that they're obviously being admitted for the truth of the matter. A letter from a teacher, and the other one's an email, but it's essentially the same thing. I'm not sure what benefit the court has to know that somebody wrote a letter on her behalf, but we're not going to look at the letter to see what it has to say. So I would maintain my objection that they're hearsay and that they should not be admitted.
Okay, so I'm going to do this. I think there's a distinction between the letter 300 and 301, right? 301 is saying that, he's doing good with his Google Slides. He's polite and supportive of his classmates. He's doing well in virtual learning. We could certainly see that in his report card, right? And his recommendation for GATE assessment, that he's doing well. So in that way, it's duplicitous. But as Mr. Hoffland indicates, to showcase that she is receiving communication from the school, and to that she's testified, certainly. So I'm not going to allow 300 and 301. I am going to allow 302 to the end of that particular exhibit. But as I indicated, she's already testified as to the nature of the communication in 300 and 301. Continue, Mr. Hoffland.
Thank you. And which grade is he in right now?
He's in third.
Okay. And so where did he attend school? Have you been with him since he began attending school?
Yes.
And who has been the contact person for Jaden with the school since he started beginning school?
Me.
Has anybody else helped you, assisted you in with Jaden's homework or getting him enrolled in school or helping him out?
I would say it's like 99% me or 98% me, and 1% when Bonnie's visiting. She kind of helps him with his schoolwork a little bit, and Rex sometimes too. But
Okay.
I would say mostly me, like 99% me.
You just threw another name into the arena.
Sorry.
Who is Bonnie?
Bonnie is Jaden's paternal grandmother.
And how often does she come to Las Vegas?
She comes to Las Vegas at the minimum probably 3 months out of the year. She comes for the entire summer, usually from May to August. Yeah.
All right. And so let's go back and talking about Jaden's schooling.
Okay.
How do you assist Jaden with the schooling? What do you do?
Well, I review his homework every night before because it's online right now, so I review his homework every night before he submits it. And if there's any things that he doesn't understand, then we go over it. A lot of times the teacher records the classes, so we go over the day's video of his learning, and then we address what he needs to focus on and what he doesn't understand, and then I just kind of tutor him from there.
And through the years, who helps you out with the problem? Has there been problems with Jaden's schooling?
Yeah, there's been some problems. Because he has like ADHD, so he kind of learns a little bit different. It's hard to explain, but we come up with different learning tools to help him, learn his stuff in a way where he can retain his information and stuff. But yeah, he's had some trouble in school, but we've worked really hard to get him to where he needs to be.
When was he diagnosed with ADHD?
He was diagnosed with ADHD last year. He was diagnosed with ADHD and ODD, but I suspected it a while ago.
And what types of what's your understanding about his condition? How do you address his condition?
Well, I discussed it with his pediatrician, and we put him on ADHD medication, as well as, and we also came up with the plan of not keeping him on medication for, a long period of time. So we are incorporating like tools he can use so that he can slowly learn them and utilize them so that he can be weaned off of it. And with that comes counseling. So he's enrolled in not just occupational counseling, but also cognitive behavioral therapy. And so that's kind of, I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, it does. So you've taken to the doctor, looking at, I believe it's proposed Exhibit 7. Or is it 6? Proposed Exhibit number 6. Can you look at these records and just tell me when you received those records and what are those records?
The first one is Jaden's dentist, a letter from his dentist. We just did his semi-annual checkup on January 27th. He has no cavities. And then the next one is his updated report card. And that one is his semester report card, which ended in January. And this one, he has straight A's. The progress report, he had 1B, so we worked to get that grade up. And then the next one is his attendance, showing that out of 102 days, he's attended 102 days. And the next one is also his daily attendance, just shows no missing days. And the next one just shows that he's doing distance learning. And then after that shows his occupational therapy from my left foot.
Okay, and why is he going to occupational therapy?
I don't remember the technical term that they told me, but it's basically he isn't aware of how close things are, and so he tends to knock over things or run into things. Or if he's playing on a skateboard and he's laying on it and he uses his hands, he'll sometimes run over his fingers because he's just not aware of where things are. So one of the ways that his therapist explained to me is if I tell you to put your hand up in the air like this, and then I ask you to close your eyes and put your hand...
Oh, you got to stop there.
Oh, sorry.
1 second. Mr. Hoffland, Mr. Zernich has a hearsay objection. I'll tell you that I'm very familiar with these occupational therapy issues and all of those things, Mr. Hoffland. So I don't need the specifics. If that speeds things up, I absolutely 100% understand the issues presented. But it also sustain the hearsay objection. Mr. Hoffland, ask another question.
Thank you. And I'm just going through these documents to get them admitted. There was an objection on it, so I was just going to do.
Mr. Zernich, do you have this is a multi-part exhibit. Do you have an objection to the medical documents from my left foot children's therapy being admitted?
Yes, Your Honor, that was the purpose of the objection to this exhibit, because there was stuff from the school, but then buried in the exhibit was also stuff from my left foot. I was just objecting because we had no certificate from the custodian of records to know whether we got a complete set of the records and or not. So I objected from that standpoint.
Mr. Tody, as to the records from my left foot?
The same objection. Again, Judge, with all these, I think the information is marginal at best for Your Honor to consider, but without anybody here, it is technically a correct objection, and I would join.
You have the same objection, Mr. Zernich and Mr. Tody, for the school records?
I do not, Your Honor. I'm satisfied with allowing the school records to come in.
Mr. Tody?
Well, the school records, I have no problem with the school records.
All right. Then I'll, at a minimum, allow those school records that represent the first few pages. The first page is the dental record. Mr. Zernich and Mr. Tody, that dental record first page.
I'm okay. I'm okay with the dental record, Your Honor.
Mr. Tody?
As well, Judge.
All right. A very inconsistent gentleman, but I'll allow the thank you. You're trying to make it a little exciting for me today. So we'll allow the dental record. We'll allow the first few pages of the school records will be admitted. Mr. Hoffman, if you want to continue with your questions about the My Left Foot records.
And, Your Honor, I apologize. We tried to make this easier rather than having. We gave everything. We identified everything in the process for all the exhibits, and I understand that everything was put together as to medical records, school records, and so we did it so it was easily for the court's consideration. I apologize that the two were mixed together.
No, you don't need to apologize. That's fine. Continue, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you. These
Your Honor,
records.
may I run to the restroom 1 minute? I'm sorry to ask.
Yeah, let's take a 5 minute. Let's take a 5 minute break.
Thank you.
Judge.